So did you, like, do you remember, like, where you stayed? Like, what,
No,
did you go through St. Louis?
we, the, we stopped, we used to drive 400 miles a day. And so this would take us to about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And we tried to, see whatever there was to see, in whatever town we were in.
Mm-hmm.
I do remember that we were in Colorado,
So you went down.
and we were at Steamboat Springs,
Uh-huh.
and found out that it was a place where the Olympics had been at one time, and they skied down the main street. And this is June, it's very cold.
Okay. So you went through Colorado. Did you go through Flagstaff?
We went through, we stopped at Flagstaff in Arizona.
So
We
you were-
stopped at Reno.
Nevada. So you were on Route 66.
I don't know.
You don't remember?
No,
You had to be Route 66. That goes through
I
Flagstaff.
never even thought of it. I'm not the best traveler
Okay.
when it comes to directions.
Okay, so you get to California, and
We moved when we got there,
get out of here.
Bob's wife, his brother's wife, came from California, and she directed us to her sister who was married, who helped us get an apartment. And then we were there in that apartment for 1 month, and the traffic was so bad on this big highway near us, and so we looked for a house and moved to the house in Fullerton. We moved to a house in Long Beach, and we were there for about 2 months, put in the lawn, fixed everything, and the owner said they want the house back, so they paid us to move our furniture and an extra month's rent that they gave us, and we moved to Fullerton, and that's where we stayed, where Kitty was born.
Did you buy the house in Fullerton?
After we were there for about a year, when those owners said now that we had fixed up everything that they would like their house back, so we went and bought a house on Wanda Drive.
Okay, so you're in California, and you're not impressed. You didn't like California.
I liked the fact that I could grow flowers, calla lilies, that kind of stuff. While I'm at the house in Fullerton, the doctor who delivered Kitty asked us if we wanted his dog, and he had this Cocker Spaniel that was 1 year old, and of course I took the dog.
And what was the dog's name?
Freckles.
Okay, let's just, before you go with the dog. So didn't you like not having winter? Did you like that at all?
No.
You didn't appreciate that at all?
No, because it didn't rain. I used to take the hose out once a week and wash off the house.
But you didn't
Especially after the Santa Ana
Uh-huh.
sand winds came, and everything would be covered.
How long did you live in the house that you purchased before you moved?
I guess we lived there, we were in California 5 years when we moved
Okay.
to Florida, and his company had transferred him to Florida.
Okay, but
to
wait.
Cape Canaveral.
Okay, but 5 years you didn't grow to appreciate California at all.
No, I liked the fact that I could grow flowers,
Yeah.
calla lilies,
Yeah, we know.
anything I wanted, roses.
So Nancy was born there too?
Nancy was born when we were on Wanda Drive, when we were in the house that we bought.
Okay. And then, so you didn't really like, and did Dad like California?
I don't know. I guess he liked it, but I used to. At the time that he was first working, if you wanted to progress at all, you would either change your job or the company would move you somewhere.
Oh, okay.
And the company, North American, moved us to Cape Canaveral.
Okay, but before, did he make a good living in California?
He
must
made
have.
what was considered then a good living.
And you weren't working,
No.
and you had the dog,
Yes.
and Nana came to visit you in California,
Yes.
and she saw the steam coming out of your cup of coffee, and she thought it was dog hair?
And we were planning on moving anyway, and so we did get rid of the dog.
But you didn't want to get rid of the dog.
No.
And,
But it was probably a good thing. Couldn't have taken him, with us anyway.
weren't you heartbroken?
I don't know.
Okay. Oh, you should have. Hey, so you drove then from California to Florida with 2 kids?
No.
How did that work?
I flew to Lancaster, and he went to Florida, and he stayed there, maybe it was a month, when we rented a house on Indian River Drive, right near the Indian River, which was an inland waterway. Okay, I never liked Florida either because of the mosquitoes. I always hung my wash out to dry, and it would be so buggy. If I took my kids for a walk, especially Nancy, would get bitten by mosquitoes to which she was allergic.
Wait, so this is like near Orlando, right?
Yes, it's maybe 20 or 30 minutes to Orlando.
And Dad he liked fishing, right? That was his
He
hobby.
fished. I mean, he was happy there. It was just me.
But he said he could fish during lunch time or something.
That's right. And even that was, that just shows you how government money contracts are really a waste of time, money. But he did,
Why? Because he had time to fish during lunch?
yeah, was lax. We had a boat. He bought a boat in conjunction with somebody else. One time when he was pulling the boat out of the water, the boat didn't pull the car back into the water, and so it submerged. He called the people to pull out the boat, or to pull out the car, and I remember the guy, he says, well, how are you going to attach your truck to my car? And the guy says, no, you will do it. So he went down in the water, and the first thing he gave the person his watch so it would be saved from the water. And he did attach it, and they pulled the car out. And right after that, he sold his portion of the boat. I was nagging him to get another job, and every night we subscribed to Nucleonics, a magazine, and I used to open it up to people wanted the job offers, and that's how he came to go work for GE
Okay, wait.
in Cincinnati.
Okay, but there's more to that story about the watch. Didn't the guy then go in the water with the watch in his pocket or something like that?
It was something like that.
Like he gave the guy the watch so it wouldn't get wet, and then.
Oh, and then that guy went in the water.
Why did he? Okay. So did Dad like California?
Well, he was busy. He was working so much that he was happy.
And
He
then.
was not happy in Florida because we were at Cape Canaveral, and it was a government program. And if you've ever, government programs are wasteful.
Okay. But how many years were you in Florida?
9 months, because I must have gotten pregnant when we were back in Lancaster, and Jane was born 9 months later, and I was back in Lancaster. He had gotten a job in Cincinnati, and he went there without me.
So
And I stayed until the baby was born.
So Jane's born in Lancaster,
Yes.
and then you go to Cincinnati.
And then
So
he
what-
had this job in Cincinnati, so after Jane was born, I joined him there. And we bought a house on Mockingbird Lane, where we lived for Mary Ann and Barbara were both born in Cincinnati.
Did you like Cincinnati?
That's where we met
Cincinnati.
Ann and John Crittenden, and we became very close. I was always busy. When I was in Florida, it was so hard to dry my clothes that I said I needed a dryer, and John kept telling me, well, wait until we're in Cincinnati. You know, we were moving, and I said, then I will never get a dryer. And so I didn't until maybe 6 or 8 years ago. I still took my wash out and hung it on to dry, even when we lived in Devon.
Okay, but yeah, I know that. So Cincinnati. How long were you living in Cincinnati?
About 4 or 5 years.
And you don't get like grow roots like you don't where you want to stay, because at this point, Kitty's like what? She's in.
We made friends. We've always made friends. I was always having dinner parties because I guess I'm very social.
But weren't you like a member of a church there?
I went to St. Mary's Church in Cincinnati, in where we lived. I forget the name of the suburb.
Did Kitty go to Catholic school?
Yes. And we did have friends. We belonged to a group that made dinner that was unusual every month.
But is it just really a chance to go back home that led you to Devon?
I liked living there because I could go back home to visit. It wasn't that far.
You mean Devon or Cincinnati?
No, we go back to Lancaster.
From Cincinnati?
Because I always stayed close. My sister Kitty moved into our home in Lancaster after my parents died. She bought the house.
Okay.
And so I always had a room there on the 3rd floor. And I always thought of that as my second home.
How far was Lancaster from Cincinnati?
It would take us maybe 7 or 8 hours to drive. We usually drove at night.
So, but you went like on a regular basis?
Did what?
You went to Lancaster from Cincinnati on a regular basis?
Yes, we would visit. We went for holidays.
But were you?
And then when we moved to Devon, GE was his employer in Cincinnati,
Uh-huh.
and they moved us to Devon, to
Because they're
Valley
opening
Forge.
King of Prussia is where they opened their new.
Huh?
Was it King of Prussia where they opened their new?
That was, they had their office down in 30th Street in Philadelphia,
Mhm.
and they were opening their office, or their plan, whatever you might, their building in King of Prussia. And that's why we bought a house in Devon, because we, that was close to King of Prussia.
So when you get to Devon, like it's nothing like it is today. Like the mall wasn't there.
No,
Was it 202?
the big, it only was built after we moved there.
Yeah. So I mean, there was no 202 to take, like, would Dad go back roads to
The
work?
202 was a back road.
Okay. And Valley Forge Park was there?
He what?
Was Valley Forge Park like a real park?
No, Valley Forge was it was a national park and a visiting center, but Valley Forge hasn't changed that much.
Okay, so it was a park, like it was.
It was a park.
Okay, but it can.
We used
at
to
one point.
we used to take all of you over there to fish in the creeks.
But it was like at one point Valley Forge becomes national, and that's when it's more controlled.
It always was a national park, but it just grew with the numbers of people that came there. It's still, I don't think it has grown that much except for the deer population.
Okay, so when you first go to Devon, does like Nancy and Kitty go right to St. Monica's when St. Monica's already there?
When we moved to Devon, Nancy was going to start kindergarten. And of course she went to St. Monica's. I know she went there. I don't know.
Well, she
if
had to
she
be
went
older
to
than that.
God,
She had to be. She was born in California, right?
yes, and she was about, so we must have, right after she was born in California is when we moved.
To Florida.
She was like 18 months old. She had all these allergies. We get on the plane to move to Florida, and suddenly her allergies disappear. So it must have been the devil grass in California that really upset her. And we were there for 9 months, and then we moved. In the interim, we stayed in Lancaster with Kitty until Jane was born, and we moved as a family to Cincinnati.
Well, I'm just saying, I'm sure that it seems that Nancy was in elementary school, not in kindergarten in Pennsylvania.
She started, I was in Lancaster for about 2 months between the time that Jane was born until we left. And I
guess my point is St. Monica's there when you moved to Devon.
When we moved to Devon, St. Monica's was just the old part of the school,
So, but
and that's where they went to school.
nobody went to like a public school.
No,
Okay.
I
And
never went to public school.
Was I the first kid to go to public school, or
Yes. Well,
was Valley Forge Junior High there, or TE, or?
well, they built the school, the middle school, after we lived there. So Hillside was there, but Valley Forge Middle School wasn't, and that was built nor Old Eagle, and they were built after we moved there.
Did the Crittenens follow you to Devon, or did the Crittenens get there first? Who got to the Crittenens? Did they?
Oh, the Crittendens, between the time when we lived in Cincinnati, they moved to Atlanta with GE. And we stayed there because we were going to move to Philadelphia.